You open your eyes beneath a pale September sky, the kind where summer has not entirely surrendered, yet autumn waits quietly in the fields. There is dew on the grass, cold dampness on your coat, a smell of earth, of engine oil, of bread packed tight in canvas, of wool that has seen too many mornings like this already. It is the first days of the campaign in Poland, year 1939, and you are simply a soldier, not a general, not a voice on the radio. Just one man among thousands, wearing field gray and leather boots that are stiff from drying by the fire the night before. A rifle rests near your hand. A helmet sits beside you, metal cool against your fingertips. The world is quiet now, but not peacefully so. It is the quiet of early movement, of soldiers rising silently, of breath held in lungs, of engines idling far ahead as columns prepare to push deeper across the border. You sit up slowly, you roll your shoulders. Your back aches, as it always does. The ground does not care that you are young, skilled, or full of duty. It simply presses against you, reminding you that nature feels no national anthem. It offers only dirt and dew and silence. The orders were clear. Cross into Poland, swiftly, decisively. Crush resistance before it can breathe. High command calls it a lightning war. Blitzkrieg. To you it is something humbler. A march you did not ask to command, a road stretching forward, one foot in front of the other, boots scraping gravel, day after day, breath after breath. Around you men stir slowly. Someone coughs. Someone mutters a prayer. Someone rubs a lucky coin between tired fingers. You think of home, as many do. A mother's kitchen, a father's workshop, a town square where people still laugh, still argue, still live simple, foolish lives, lives untouched by the edges of a bayonet or the rumble of tanks rolling over foreign soil. The Polish countryside stretches before you. Farms, thin woods, narrow dirt roads riddled with ruts. A rooster crows somewhere distant. Cows low softly from a field. The world here still pretends it is at peace, yet the air vibrates with a tension you can feel in your teeth. The way horses snort and stamp nervously. The way the junior officer checks his map again and again, as if the paper might suddenly fold itself into certainty. No one says it aloud, but everyone knows. War feels different when it becomes real. It had all been speeches before. Radios barking, crowds shouting in squares, maps and movement orders, timetables whispered in barracks. And now here you are, watching morning fog drift across a foreign field, knowing that somewhere beyond those thin trees, Polish soldiers wait with rifles of their own, breath rising in clouds just like yours. You eat breakfast slowly, a bit of bread, some cold sausage, coffee that tastes more like warm brown water than comfort. You chew quietly. Everything is quiet. A corporal adjusts his belt. A friend beside you murmurs something about how strange it feels. To wake not at home, nor on training ground, but here, at the edge of something irreversible. No one knows how long this war will last. Some say it will be swift. Some say England and France will stay out. Some say this is a war that will end wars. But deep inside, you feel an unease you dare not speak. History does not bend because men hope it will. History moves the way storms do. Slow at first, then sudden, consuming fields, villages, and youth in its path. A distant thump breaks the morning stillness. Artillery, somewhere beyond the mist. Not close, not far. Just enough to remind you that steel and fire are part of this new world you walk into. A truck engine growls. Orders ripple down the line in low voices. It is time to move again. You stand. Wool coat brushes your knees. Leather straps creak as equipment shifts across your back. Your Mauser rifle feels familiar in your grip, yet heavier than when you trained with it, as if war has filled the wood and steel with gravity. The column begins to march. Boots crunch in unison, a steady rhythm. Dust rises, then settles across your trousers. Men breathe through their noses to avoid the grit. A horse pulling an artillery piece flicks its ears at flies, tail swatting lazily, even in war. You glance to the side as you walk. The Polish farmland rolls gently. A farmhouse stands crooked with age, smoke curling from its chimney as though nothing in the world has changed. A woman stands in the doorway, shawl wrapped around her shoulders, watching your unit pass. Her eyes are tired, curious, afraid. You look away. You do not wave. She does not call out. War does not always shout. Sometimes it just watches. A sergeant whispers that resistance grows as you push inland. Roadblocks, hidden rifles, horses ambushed in the night, Polish cavalry scouts seen on ridgelines, silhouettes against the sky. Rumors, perhaps. Truth, perhaps. In war, the difference between rumor and reality can be the space between a heartbeat and its last echo. Hours pass, bootsteps, breath, the rustle of uniform cloth, the hum of engines that never quite feel steady enough. You reach a road, narrow, dirt-packed, with wagon tracks cut deep. Ahead, a burnout truck smolders. Blackened metal, wooden frame collapsed, wheels charred down to stubbed rims. A reminder that this land will resist, even if hopelessly so. A dead horse lies nearby, steam rising faintly from its body. Flies gather. A hand rests on your stomach, not for hunger, but instinct. A natural attempt to keep your breath steady. War, you realize, has already been here a while. Your unit halts briefly. Scouts move forward. Everyone crouches, rifles ready, eyes scanning hedgerows and tree lines. The silence now is not gentle. It presses on your ears, taut, expectant. A leaf rustles. Someone shifts their boot in the dirt. Your pulse drums softly against your collar. Then, nothing. Just the wind moving through harvested fields. Just birds rising from a distant barn roof. Just the hollow buzz of tension unwound, if only for this moment. You walk again, slowly, deeper into Poland. Time becomes a river of steps. The road continues. The air warms. The sun rises higher, pale gold in a sky that does not care who marches beneath it. And somewhere inside, the soldier you were yesterday, young, confident, untested, begins to fade. In his place grows someone quieter, someone who watches everything, someone who understands the quiet truth that war is not glory nor adventure. War is a weight that settles into bones and memory, not through battle alone, but through the long hours between battles where fear and duty breathe side by side. The march continues. Dust rises once more, and the world, indifferent and ancient, watches as your column of weary men disappears among the trees, swallowed by distance and history. The day stretches long as your column moves deeper into Poland. The road bends gently. Trees frame the sky like thin brushstrokes, leaves trembling in a wind that seems older than the uniforms you wear. Someone near you whispers about how this all began, about the radio station on the border, the one at Gliwice, how men in Polish uniforms stormed it, how the broadcast crackled out a frantic message, a warning that Poland had struck first. Some soldiers say it was real. Some say it was staged, a whisper you would never repeat aloud. Rumor moves faster than infantry boots, and sometimes rumor feels heavier than a rifle. But whatever truth hides behind it, the order followed like thunder. At dawn, we cross. So at 4:45 in the morning, September 1st, artillery began. Shells arced over the border, lighting the sky before the sun could claim it. Thunder where there should have been birds. Fire where there should have been mist rising over silent fields. You did not fire the first shot. You simply walked behind the men who did. A sergeant clears his throat. A soft, tired sound. We move toward Łódź soon, he murmurs. Through Wieland first, they say. The Luftwaffe hit it this morning. You nod slowly, though your stomach tightens. You heard the distant engines at dawn, the rumble overhead, bombers slicing the sky in formation, dark silhouettes gliding like iron birds. Now quietly, someone says the first bombs of the war fell on Wieland, a town without soldiers, without defenses. Its hospital struck, even though a Red Cross lay clearly upon it. You do not know if it is true. You do not want to know. History feels different when it is not on a map but under your boots. Hours pass. Dust clings to your skin. Sweat dries and forms salt on your collar. You adjust your pack, tighten your grip on your rifle. Ahead, a column of armored vehicles growls past. Panzer I light tanks, small, thin-plated, their engines rattling under strained steel. They are nothing like the machine's propaganda posters promised. They are loud, temperamental, and not nearly as invincible as newspapers back home say. But to a foot soldier like you, they still look powerful. Metal confidence rolling on treads. The road widens into farmland. A Polish farmhouse sits crooked among haystacks. A dog barks once, then falls silent. A Polish farmer stands by the fence, cap in hand, watching you march. Young children peering from behind his coat. No hatred in his eyes, only fear, confusion. A quiet understanding that history has rolled over his field like an iron wheel. A rider gallops past, a messenger from a reconnaissance unit. His horse is lathered with sweat, flanks trembling. He shouts a short message to your lieutenant. Polish cavalry spotted near Mokra. They struck the 4th Panzer Division. The officer nods sharply. Word spreads along the line. Polish Uhlans, experienced horsemen, had launched a counterattack near Mokra, using forest cover, anti-tank rifles, and sheer resolve. Some German armor was hit. Casualties taken. Someone mutters the old myth. They charged tanks with sabers. The sergeant beside you shakes his head quietly. No, he breathes. They are not fools. He has served longer than most here. He knows cavalry scouts fight with rifles, machine guns, and tactics learned through generations. Steel against steel, courage against engine. War births lies as quickly as it births casualties. You march on. By afternoon, the column pauses. You rest in a ditch beside the road, helmet off, wiping dust from your eyes. A canteen passes hand to hand. Water warm, metallic, yet precious. Bread again. A small tin of meat shared between 3 men. Someone hums a folk tune under his breath. It would be peaceful if peace still existed. Far ahead, artillery thumps again. Distant, rhythmic, like a heartbeat too slow to belong to any living thing. The countryside absorbs the sound and returns only stillness. Your officer speaks quietly to the squad leaders. You catch fragments. Łódź, Kielce, Vistula crossings, Warsaw resistance growing. Polish units are retreating but not collapsing. Their officers fight hard. Their soldiers know every meadow, every ridge, every narrow bridge across every river. A private beside you removes a boot, rubbing a blister until it bleeds slightly. He does not complain. In war, pain becomes background noise. You relace your own boots, checking the soles for wear. You brush dirt from your rifle. You make small, practical motions, not because they matter in the grand design of nations, but because they matter to survival. Another message arrives. Krakow falls. It feels early, impossibly early. Cities do not fall like apples shaken from branches, you think. And yet here you are, walking through a land where news arrives like cold wind. Sudden, sharp, chilling. Evening descends slowly, gold fading into gray, gray into soft blue. A crescent moon rises. Camp is set near a stretch of trees. No campfires. Orders. Only the slow settling of men on damp ground. You remove your helmet, lay it beside your pack, wool blanket over shoulders, sky above, stars appearing one by one like quiet witnesses. You rest your head on your rolled coat. A corporal murmurs nearby about Westerplatte, the Polish garrison on the coast near Danzig, still holding out against repeated bombardment. 7 days, he says. Just a tiny peninsula. Just a tiny force. And still they refuse surrender. Someone whispers in admiration. Even your lieutenant nods. War bends borders, but bravery ignores flags. You close your eyes. Crickets chirp softly. A distant engine fades into silence. Your breath slows. The earth is cool beneath you. Tomorrow will bring noise again. Steel, movement, orders. But tonight, only stars judge you. And they do not speak. Sleep comes gently. You are not yet hardened by months of fighting. You are simply tired, human. A single life carried forward by history's unfeeling tide. And as dreams begin to take you, one last thought passes quietly through your mind. You did not start this storm, but you are walking inside it. Morning wakes slowly, pale and silver, the kind of dawn that feels like it has been soaked in cold water. Boots slide reluctantly back onto sore feet. Straps tighten across shoulders, stiff from yesterday's march. Coffee, thin and bitter, warms your hands but not quite your spirit. The air carries a faint smell of wet grass and distant smoke. Not heavy, not alarming, simply a reminder that somewhere ahead, villages burn not from malice, but from artillery, from retreat, from the simple arithmetic of war. You fall into column again, the line of gray uniforms stretching along the road like a thread pulled taut through the countryside. No one talks much this morning. Sleep clings to men's eyes. Thoughts cling to home. You walk past a field freshly plowed, though the farmer is nowhere in sight. Oxen stand in harness, patient and confused, chewing silently as if they do not understand why the day has broken, without human hands to guide them. War pauses, no one's harvest. Ahead, officers speak quietly. There is talk of crossings toward the Vistula, bridges needed for panzers, engineers clearing approaches. Rumor travels that Łódź, a city of factories and brick, may soon face encirclement if roads stay open. None of this changes your task, of course. You march, you breathe, you carry your rifle and pack. You place one foot in front of the other on the Polish earth. Hours pass in silence, broken only by the soft clatter of canteens against belts, the occasional distant hum of engines, the rhythm of your own pulse in your ears. Then, movement on the roadside. Polished civilians emerge from a farmhouse, a gray-haired man holding a hat nervously against his chest, a woman with tired eyes clutching a child close, another child peering from behind her skirts. They do not plead, they do not shout. They simply watch as you pass, faces etched with worry older than their years. One soldier near you looks away. Another shifts his jaw as though swallowing hard. War is not righteous in the eyes of those who never asked to host it. Far in the distance, faint shapes move. Horsemen. Polish cavalry scouts again, weaving through the tree line like ghosts. Your lieutenant points, but there is no chase. They vanish as quickly as they appear. They know these lands. You do not. By midday, the column halts near a shallow river. Not the Vistula, smaller, unnamed on your lips, though it has likely held a name for centuries. Engineers work ahead, laying planks for trucks. Horses drink quietly at the bank, their heads rising and falling like slow breathing. You kneel to fill your canteen, water cold enough to sting your hand. A fellow soldier sits beside you, removing his helmet to rub his temples. He murmurs about Krakow having fallen, the ancient city taken with surprising speed. Another man nods but does not smile. You realize that victory feels different when you walk through it, step by step, instead of reading about it in a newspaper. You take a slow sip of water. A dragonfly skims the surface, unaware of borders, armies, treaties. Clouds shift overhead. Light dapples the ground. Soon you are walking again. A horse-drawn field kitchen rattles past, metal clunking, a thin scent of boiled potatoes following in its wake. The simple smell feels like home and ache at once. Then the first real sound of the day breaks the calm. Far-off artillery, dull and distant, like someone dropping heavy stones into the earth miles away. It rolls in waves, not constant, not frantic, just steady, a rhythm of war. Someone says Polish forces are counterattacking near the Bzura River, west of Warsaw. A large force, perhaps the Poznan and Pomor's armies, trying to break free, trying to strike back before the ring tightens. You imagine them, men like you, uniforms worn, boots muddy, hearts pounding, not from pride, but from duty and doubt and stubborn human will. War is not quiet everywhere. Just here, on this road, at this moment. You continue quietly, the world narrowing into the simple steps of marching. The sky brightens, then dims again as clouds gather. A light breeze carries the smell of damp soil. Eventually, you stop near a cluster of trees where the unit will bivouac again. No buildings here, no villages in sight. Just earth and moss, pine needles scattered like thin brown feathers. Tents are not pitched. This is not comfort, but pause. You unroll your blanket. You sit, stretching legs stiff from the march. A motorbike arrives, spraying pebbles as it stops. The dispatch rider hands a message to your lieutenant, who scans it with slow, careful eyes. Warsaw resists, someone whispers. Yes, the lieutenant answers quietly. They prepare defenses, bridges, trenches. The Vistula is their shield. A hush settles. You feel it. Not dread, not triumph, but the strange neutrality of reality simply unfolding. The lieutenant adds, softer still, and the Poles have struck hard at Bazura. Very hard, he does not elaborate. He does not need to. Sometimes the weight of a battle is not measured in territory gained, but in how a man says a single sentence. Evening arrives gently. A few rations are shared. Dried bread, a smear of cheese traded from one soldier to another, a tin of meat opened with slow reverence. Someone hums an old folk song again. Someone else writes a letter no one will read yet. Another man only stares at the sky through branches, lips moving silently. Prayer or memory, you cannot tell. You sit with your back against a tree trunk, feeling the rough bark through your coat. You lay your rifle beside you, wood grain warm from your hand. Crickets begin their nightly chorus. Leaves rustle lightly overhead. A bird calls once and then falls silent, as if reminded that night belongs to quieter things. Sleep won't come quickly tonight, but it will come. It always does eventually for soldiers who march far enough. Exhaustion is a universal language in war. As your eyes begin to grow heavy, you reflect on the river you crossed, the farmers you passed, the rumors of battles swelling like storm clouds toward Warsaw. You feel small, not ashamed, not proud, just small. A single figure moving through a moment far larger than yourself. History rarely asks if those inside it are ready, and as the first stars emerge, timid and pale above the trees, you breathe out slowly, settling into the earth, one more night further from home, deeper into a war no one fully understands yet. You do not know how long it will last. You only know you march again tomorrow. Morning returns like a soft drum beat, not loud, not sudden, but persistent, steady. The way war keeps moving, even when men wish the world would pause. You wake beneath trees slick with dew. Your blanket is damp. Your joints stiffen as you rise, unrolling yourself from the earth one careful breath at a time. A bird calls somewhere above, curious, indifferent, watching you like a witness unable to interfere. You brush dirt from your sleeves and adjust your belt. The smell of pine sap mixes with the metallic scent of weapons and the faint sourness of unwashed wool uniforms. The men stir slowly, boots laced in silence, helmets lifted with tired arms, canteens sloshing with the day's first sip of cold water. No one speaks loudly. War begins most days not with shouting or gunfire, but with weary breathing and quiet preparation. The march resumes. You pass through forests thinned with autumn's touch, then into open countryside. Fields roll gently, golden and green, dotted with haystacks and the far shapes of fleeing families pulling carts. Civilians move along distant roads, gray silhouettes under a pale sky, oxen pulling wagons stacked high with bedding, pots, blankets, memories. A woman holds a child against her shoulder, walking slowly, her posture bent not by age, but by fear and exhaustion. A young boy pushes a wooden wheelbarrow filled with whatever his family could grab. They do not look at you, or if they do, the look is brief. Not hatred, not rage, merely a tired resignation. War is not new to this continent, just returns sooner than anyone hoped. As the road bends, an officer joins your platoon briefly. A map under his arm, dust on his boots. Bazura offensive continues, he murmurs, voice low but steady. Polish forces attacking in strength. We are being redirected toward support positions. Warsaw remains defiant. There is no dramatic reaction, just slow nods, quiet acceptance, the subtle tightening of straps and jawlines. Poland fights hard, harder than many expected. The Polish Poznan and Pomor's armies have struck near the Bazura River, trying to break through German lines, trying to reach Warsaw before it is surrounded. Word travels that rivers to the west run red with mud and effort, though no one here has seen it yet. Only heard it in soft fragments of officer talk, in the radio crackle at command posts. You are far from that clash, but the ground feels charged, as if each step echoes events just out of sight, like thunder rumbling beyond hills too distant to see. By midday, the road grows wider, showing signs of heavier movement. Tire tracks, hoof marks, the imprint of tank treads pressed deep into earth, still soft from night dew. A burned-out car sits in a ditch, hazards not of its own making, but of the path war carved through it. A single leather suitcase sits beside it, untouched, as though its owner fled too quickly or met a fate that made luggage suddenly irrelevant. Smoke rises faintly on the horizon. Not towering, not violent, just a thin smudge where a village once stood peacefully. A farm roof burns, but lazily, as if fire grows weary too. You march on. Then, in the distance, a sound like rolling clouds, deep and steady, artillery, not close enough to panic, not far enough to ignore. A sergeant murmurs, "Warsaw is preparing." Artillery from Praga district, resistance around the bridges. You've heard the whispers already. The capital will not yield easily. Even the air knows it. Your lungs feel heavier with each inhale, not from smoke, but anticipation. Hours pass. The column halts at the edge of a field. Men kneel, drink, stretch aching backs. A wagon rolls by carrying wounded from another regiment. Bandaged arms, blood-dark cloth, blank stares. No cries, no groans. Just silence. The quiet of shock or fatigue beyond language. You watch one soldier meet your eyes as he passes. He nods once. Not in salute, nor warning, but recognition. War has a way of aging men in days. Soon you walk again. The land flattens. Trees give way to open farmland and distant factory chimneys. Silent, black against sky. A refugee column moves opposite your line. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, walking west with carts, bicycles, or nothing at all. Their steps slow, bodies slumped like wheat bent by the first frost. A child cries quietly. No tantrum, just soft sobs carried on a tired breath. His mother lifts him gently, whispering something soothing you cannot hear. You turn your eyes away. One of your comrades murmurs, "I thought this would be different. I thought we would be greeted as, not like this." Another answers, voice flat, "Propaganda greets us. People do not." There is no argument. War is honest in ways speeches are not. A distant hum interrupts the quiet. Low, steady, mechanical. You look up. Luftwaffe bombers, flying high. Small, dark shapes gliding in formation, moving toward the distant rumble of artillery near Warsaw. They do not dive here. They do not release fire here. They simply pass, the sky holding them weightlessly as if unaware of the earth they remake beneath their shadows. You resume marching as their engines fade. By evening, you reach a wooded rise overlooking fields stretching toward the faint outline of Warsaw in the far distance. Just rooftops and church spires beneath a gray sky, like a sketch unfinished. Faint flashes blink along the horizon. Artillery firing, answering fire. The city waits, the army waits, and you wait, as soldiers always do, suspended between orders and uncertainty. Your unit settles for the night. No tents, just blankets, rifles, quiet breaths. A few men clean weapons methodically, not from fear but routine. Others sit with their backs to tree trunks, staring into twilight. No grand speeches, no fierce songs, just the quiet rhythm of tired men in a foreign land, listening to the soft echo of distant war like a heartbeat under the ground. You lie down, earth firm beneath your back. The first stars appear, faint, cautious like thoughts just forming. Your eyelids grow heavy. You think of home, not with longing, not with grief, but with a softness, a distance as though it lives in another life. Here, in the hush before battle, you feel neither hero nor villain, only small, only human, a figure drifting through history's current. The artillery on the horizon thuds once more. The ground gives a faint tremor, a quiet reminder that tomorrow edges closer. Sleep creeps in gently, like fog rolling across low fields. Your last waking thought is not of victory or fear, but of simple hope. Let tomorrow be gentle. Let the road be kind. Let me return home one day, unchanged if such a thing is possible. Night wraps around you, silence returns, and the soldier you are yields to the hush of tired bones and a sky full of indifferent stars. Dawn returns with no ceremony at all, no brilliant sunrise, no birds celebrating morning, just pale light spreading across thin clouds, brushing the tops of trees with the faintest silver. The kind of morning where even nature seems cautious, unsure whether to breathe loudly. You wake slowly, not startled, not anxious, just tired. Fatigue has become a quiet companion, sitting beside you like an old friend, placing a gentle hand on your shoulder as you roll your blanket and lift your rifle. No sharp pains today, just stiffness like old wood bending. The men rise without words. Boots scrape earth, belts buckle, canteens are shaken lightly, checking water, never wasting a drop. The officer moves down the line, speaking low. We continue toward Warsaw. The Bazura fighting draws to a close. Bazura, again. The name lingers in soldiers' conversations like a storm cloud, far off yet impossible to ignore. You have not seen the battle, only heard it, felt it rumble in distant soil, seen its wounded pass by on wagons. But rumor carries more weight than any physical sight. They say the Polish armies fought fiercely near Sochaju and Wołocz, trying to break through, trying to reach Warsaw. They say they nearly succeeded. They say German units struggled, surprised by the scale of the attack. And now they say the river runs quiet again, meaning only one thing: the counterattack is dying, or already dead. No celebration follows the whispers, only a long breath, relief and respect mingling like two streams joining into one. War teaches strange things. Respect for the enemy is one of them. You march. The landscape changes as the road straightens, fields thinning into scattered farms, farms thinning into suburbs in the distance. The faint impression of a capital city emerging on the horizon, as though drawn in charcoal against a sky the color of old linen. Warsaw, still distant, but close enough that silence feels intentional. A city holding its breath. The sky darkens suddenly, but not from weather. Shapes cross overhead again. Luftwaffe bombers, followed by fighters gliding silent behind them. No sirens here, no shouting. Just engines, steady and cold. They fly east toward the river, toward the city's edge. Moments later, a distant sound rolls across the fields. Not thunder, not quite. A deep, hollow concussion. Then another, and another. The first shells. You stop walking without realizing it. Others do the same. The entire column pauses. Not ordered, simply compelled by instinct. War has reached the capital. Far away, a thin ribbon of smoke rises. Not dramatic, not towering, just a whisper of ash curling lazily into the morning air, as though unsure whether it is meant to exist. Then you march again. Boots, dirt, silence. The world has changed, but your task has not. Soon you pass groups of Polish civilians walking toward the city, the opposite direction of safety. They carry what they can, bundles tied in cloth, chickens in wicker cages, an old man pushing a wheelbarrow with a sewing machine inside. A woman walks alone, holding the hand of a boy perhaps 8 years old. She glances at you, not pleading, not accusing, only searching, as if trying to predict what the days ahead will bring. You do not meet her eyes long. You lower your gaze and keep walking. Somewhere behind you, a man mutters a prayer in German. You do not recognize the words, but the tone is universal, soft, pleading, weary. Another soldier tightens his grip on his rifle, not out of fear, but habit. Routine has replaced thought. That is how soldiers continue, one task at a time, one foot, then the next, not considering tomorrow because tomorrow is too large to hold all at once. You stop in a field at midday. Scouts move ahead, officers check maps, compass needles trembling in their hands. A thin breeze pushes dried grass against your boots. Insects hum. You nudge a pebble with your toe and watch it roll until it stops. For a brief moment, you feel nothing but the texture of earth and the weight of your rifle. Not fear, not pride, just presence. A man beside you pulls out a small photograph. A woman holding a baby, both smiling. He stares at it for a long time, then slides it back into his pocket with a slow, almost reverent motion. You say nothing. There is nothing to say. A messenger arrives on a motorcycle, dust rising behind him. He speaks quietly to the lieutenant. Words travel through the ranks like a draft through open windows. The Vistula bridges are defended. Warsaw prepares for siege. You exhale slowly, not surprised, not shaken. Simply aware. War has rhythms, and this is one of them. A tightening, a circling, a city bracing behind its walls and riverbanks. In the distance, another artillery boom rolls across the sky. The ground hums faintly beneath your boots. You chew hard bread, sip warm water, wait for orders that will come when they choose to, not when you wish they would. Late afternoon settles soft and heavy over the fields like wool cloth. The sun lowers gentle, gilding each blade of grass with tired gold. Your body aches but accepts it. Pain, like fear, becomes something worn rather than felt. Soon the lieutenant gives the signal. Not shouted, just a hand gesture. March again. Toward a city that does not yet see you. Toward history unfolding one quiet footstep at a time. And as you walk beneath a sky beginning to bruise into twilight, you feel something subtle change inside you. Not loss, not resignation, just a quiet narrowing. A soldier's mind learning to carry only what fits. The rifle in your hands, the man walking beside you, and the next mile of dusty road. Everything else becomes distant, like the fading sun. Not forgotten, just set aside so your heart can continue beating in a world that demands too much from it. Night will come soon, and you will lie on the ground again, and tomorrow will arrive without asking if you are ready. But for now you walk, and the world is strangely still, even as history begins to shake it apart. Evening settles not with warmth, but with a tired heaviness, the way blankets feel when they are damp from dew and still must be used. The air cools enough that breath mists faintly. Your coat grows stiff where sweat dried hours ago. You sleep lightly, not deeply. Dreams are thin, not nightmares, but flickers of home, and then roads, and then nothing. Morning finds you before you truly find it. For a moment, lying still, you forget where you are. Not in bliss, simply in confusion. Earth beneath your shoulder, the smell of canvas and wool. Then a quiet footstep nearby reminds you. Another day, another march. Rations are eaten without ceremony. Bread broken by hand, a little jam or cold fat if someone was lucky enough to trade for it. Coffee brewed thin and dark, a comfort more in ritual than taste. You sling your rifle, adjust straps that have worn grooves in your shoulders, fall into line as the column rises and reforms like a single organism waking limb by limb. The road bends and suddenly the world widens. Ahead, Warsaw. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel. Church spires pierce the sky. Rooftops gather like clustered thoughts beneath the soft morning haze. A river glimmers somewhere beyond. Though you do not see it, you sense it. And in the air, faint but real, distant echoes, a thud, a sharp, hollow crack. Not constant, not frenetic, just reminders that the city breathes under strain. Your sergeant murmurs, artillery probing the defenses. Testing strength. You nod slightly. In training, artillery was theory and diagrams. Here, even when distant, it has weight. Not just sound, but gravity, as if the earth itself responds. As you move closer, signs of war multiply. Roads scarred by tank treads, hastily abandoned carts, shattered glass glittering in roadside gravel. Yet the countryside has not vanished. It lingers stubbornly. A farmhouse still stands, chickens pecking in dirt. Laundry flutters on a line, untouched by panic. Life does not stop just because armies move. Then, voices. A stream of civilians travels along a dirt lane off the main road. Women pushing prams filled not with infants, but blankets and kettles. Old men leaning on canes, hats clutched in trembling fingers. A girl carrying a basket heavier than her thin arms seem made for. Their faces show not terror, but worry worn thin by days of walking and nights of poor sleep. A man pulling a handcart pauses as your unit passes. He looks at you, tired, curious, perhaps searching for something in your expression. Mercy, certainty, reassurance. You offer none, not by choice, but because you do not possess any to give. You keep walking. A little farther, a Polish policeman in worn uniform directs civilians toward the city gates. He does not draw his weapon. He does not shout. He simply gestures, voice low, trying to keep order in a world where order crumbles grain by grain. You hear children crying, but softly, as if war has already taught them to lower their voices. The day warms slightly, though the sky remains pale, the sun thin behind high cloud. Around midday, you stop near a hedgerow. Engineers and artillery units move past, their vehicles groaning under weight. A howitzer lurches forward, wheels churning mud. You wipe sweat from your brow. Your hands feel heavier than they should. Your stomach aches with hunger, but only faintly now. The body has begun to learn to expect less. A corporal passes along the line with quiet news. The Bzura battle has ended. Our forces have sealed it. Polish units surrendering or scattered. You do not cheer, no one cheers. Victory spoken softly is different than victory shouted. It tastes like necessity, not triumph. You eat again. Bread cracked with dry fingers, a slice of boiled potato shared from a mess tin. A swallow of water, warm from the metal of your canteen. Nearby, someone hums a church hymn, barely audible. Someone else cleans his rifle with repetitive, practiced motion, a ritual that brings comfort even without dirt to remove. You look toward Warsaw again. Smoke curls from one district, not a roaring column, just a soft smudge, as though the city sighs. You imagine people inside, gathering water, finding cellars, listening for sirens, whispering to children in stairwells. You feel neither pride nor guilt, only the weight of inevitability. Orders come quietly in late afternoon. Forward movement resumes, not yet into the city, but closer, encircling, tightening. The air thickens with tension as you pass shattered telegraph poles, canvas-covered ammunition wagons, stacks of sandbags left by advance units. Closer now, you hear guns more clearly, short bursts, then silence. Then the dull thump of artillery somewhere behind your left shoulder. Night approaches slowly, like a curtain drawn by weary hands. You make camp in a shallow depression near a cluster of birch trees. No tents, just blankets on earth softened by fallen leaves. You sit with your back against a tree, boots unbuckled just enough to ease your feet without removing them fully. Uniform scratches at your neck. A button presses uncomfortably against your ribs. Small discomforts become the markers of time. Someone passes around a small tin of cigarettes. You accept one, though you rarely smoke. The ember glows softly in twilight, your breath carrying faint smoke toward branches above. The world smells of damp leaves, oil, and distant fire. No one speaks of home now, not often. The mind is turned inward, steady, conserving itself. Fatigue does not feel dramatic anymore. It feels normal. The lieutenant sits on an ammunition crate, map unfolded on his knees, tracing lines with a dull pencil. You can barely see him in the fading light. Yet he seems carved from the earth itself, unmoving, thoughtful, weathered in spirit. Somewhere far off, dogs bark. Somewhere nearer, a horse snorts and stamps once, restless. You lay your helmet beside you, rest your head on your rolled greatcoat. Stare at a sky dimming toward indigo, stars blinking awake one by one. Your eyelids grow heavy. The city waits. The war waits. You drift into sleep like sinking slowly underwater, noise fading, limbs easing, thoughts dissolving. Not frightened, not hopeful, simply carried by exhaustion into silence. And the last thing you feel is the earth beneath you, unchanging, indifferent, holding you up all the same. Morning arrives like a thin veil drawn across the world. Not bright, Not warm, just light, gray and soft, settling over fields and over worn boots and heavy heads as though unsure whether to comfort or simply exist. You rise slower than before. Muscles protest. The ground feels harder today, or perhaps your body is simply softer from fatigue. You brush dried leaves from your coat, shake dirt from your sleeves, run fingers across stiff stubble along your jaw. A quiet groan escapes someone nearby as they stretch. Not pain, just the sound of a man who has not slept deeply in too many nights. Rations again. A crust of bread. A smear of butter traded from a field kitchen wagon the night before. Cold water that tastes faintly of metal. You eat without tasting. You do not think of hunger. Hunger has become another background noise, like the rustle of wind through grass, or the quiet clink of kit against belt buckles. Orders come softly down the line. Hold position, observe. Do not advance without command. It is not phrased like drama, just a fact, like weather or gravity. You take your place along a shallow rise overlooking the land that crawls toward Warsaw. The city sits on the horizon, still distant, still half hidden by morning haze, but undeniably there, like a thought you cannot escape no matter how long you walk. Then the earth gives a tremor. Not much. A pulse beneath boots, brief and subtle. A second tremor follows, then a third. Artillery, not sporadic this time, not testing, sustained. The siege has begun. A low boom rolls across the air, slow and heavy, followed by a faint whistle, then a distant crash, muffled by distance, softened by the sheer scale of land between you and the target. Still, the spine feels it. The heart feels it. Even when the mind tries not to. You watch clouds drift lazily above, indifferent to the world below. Birds wheel in small circles overhead, unsure whether to flee or stay. War rarely feels all at once. It creeps. It hums. It whispers through ground and bone. Smoke rises in a thin ribbon from one corner of the city, curling upward like incense in a far-off cathedral. Another plume joins it, and then another. Yet nothing around you changes. No rush forward, no shouted commands, just waiting. Waiting is its own front line. A young soldier beside you mutters, "It feels wrong to sit still when the ground shakes." The sergeant answers quietly, eyes half closed. Most of war is waiting. You fight less than you think. You wait more than you want. No one argues. There is nothing to argue with in truth. You breathe slowly, letting the ground's faint vibrations roll through your palms where they rest against soil. Somewhere behind your unit, an ammunition cart creaks by, axle complaining softly. A horse snorts, stamping once, impatient or nervous, hard to tell. Farther down the line, a private sharpens his bayonet not because it needs sharpening, but because motion is easier than stillness. Routine is a shield. Hours pass, clouds thin, then thicken again. The day never fully brightens, as if light itself hesitates to linger too long over what approaches. More civilians trickle alongside paths. A woman carrying a suitcase in both arms. Two boys pushing a bicycle loaded with blankets. An old man leading a goat by a rope, muttering to it softly as though it were a child. Their footsteps are slow, their eyes cast down. Some glance at you, but only briefly. Fear not of you, but of the uncertainty ahead. Warsaw calls to them like a wounded parent, and they go, seeking safety among walls soon to shake. No marching band, no flags, just quiet desperation. Mid-afternoon, more artillery rumbles. This time sharper, faster sequence, shorter pause. A brief wind stirs dust and blows the smell of distant burning wood toward you. Not acrid, not thick, just faint, like a memory of smoke rather than smoke itself. The lieutenant checks his watch, then the sky, then the map. His expression is controlled, unreadable. A runner arrives delivering a written order. The lieutenant nods once, folds the paper, tucks it away. Hold position, he repeats, as if you expected anything else. Evening slides in slowly, the sky bruising into purple and blue as though painted by tired hands. You eat a small portion of tinned meat, sharing quiet jokes with no laughter, just smiles tugging weakly at lips. Human habit refusing to surrender. A corporal lights a cigarette, shielding the ember with his hand. Someone whispers a prayer again. You lie on your side, rifle close, blanket pulled to your chin. The earth is colder tonight. Your breath hangs faintly in the air. The artillery continues, far, rhythmic, unhurried, like a giant knocking patiently on the gates of a city that refuses to yield. You close your eyes. You feel the smallest vibrations in the ground. And slowly, gently, sleep settles over you. Not peaceful, not troubled, just sleep, the kind earned by footsteps, not battles. And as awareness fades, a single thought drifts quietly across your mind like a leaf across a stream. War exhausts not through fear, but through time. Night takes you, and the world continues turning, indifferent and unstoppable. Dawn breaks again, though break feels too strong a word for it. The light simply arrives, pale, diluted, unsure of itself. You wake with a faint stiffness in your neck and a dull ache in your lower back, the kind earned from sleeping on uneven earth night after night. There is no sun to greet you, only a sky the color of worn linen and the distant hum of an engine somewhere beyond the tree line. You stand slowly, stretching arms, rotating shoulders, trying to coax warmth into tired joints. A thin mist lies across the field, brushing the tops of grass like a whisper. A soldier coughs into his sleeve. Another rubs his eyes, blinking slowly, as if convincing them to focus. Your officer walks quietly down the line, offering no instruction yet, only presence, steady and quiet. You drink a little water, eat a slice of hard bread. The taste doesn't matter. Food is a signal, not a pleasure. Soon you are moving again, not advancing aggressively, just shifting position forward, finding a ridgeline where scouts say the land offers view. The ground here is uneven and dotted with shrubs. A shallow ditch runs alongside the path, carved long before battle by rainwater, not artillery. As you crest the rise, Warsaw reveals itself again. A mosaic of rooftops, church domes, smokestacks, and bridges stretching over the distant curve of the Vistula River. You see the shimmer of morning light catching water beyond the city. It looks peaceful from here. Everything does when seen from distance. But then, a sound, a low, sustained rumble, then a sharp pulse, artillery again, steady, insistent, echoing like a slow drumbeat of inevitability. You feel it in your feet first, then in your chest. The city replies, faint bursts of Polish guns, answering back across the river, determined to hold the line as long as breath remains. Someone near you murmurs, they are fighting for every stone. You nod slightly. Warsaw is not surrendering. The lieutenant marks positions on his map. Engineers begin to lay out shallow fieldworks. Nothing deep, just enough earth moved to kneel behind. Enough brush arranged to watch without being seen. You help quietly, pressing dirt with gloved hands, stacking branches, tamping soil around your boots. Not because of fear, because of routine. War teaches routine faster than fear. Hours pass. The sun attempts to break through cloud, fails and retreats. The land smells of churned soil, engine fuel, and autumn leaves beginning their slow decay. Refugees appear again, but now they move both directions. Some still head toward Warsaw, clutching hope that walls and soldiers will protect them. Others leave, faces gray with exhaustion, pushcarts creaking under blankets and cookware, children riding on wagons piled with whatever pieces of their lives could be rescued. One wagon passes close enough that you see a man holding a violin case, tucked carefully under one arm. He does not look at you. His attention is fixed on the ground before his feet, as if watching each step keeps his heart steady. Another wagon carries nothing but clothing, a sewing machine, and 3 terrified hens in a wicker cage. War reduces belongings to essentials. Sometimes music and chickens weigh the same against survival. Your comrades remain silent, weapons idle. None of you came here for cruelty. None of you quite know why you came beyond orders inked far away by hands that do not carry packs or rifles. As midday approaches, distant aircraft engines hum overhead. not attacking here, only flying toward another target. A squadron of Stukas with fixed landing gear and angled wings, their shapes distinctive even far above. Later, another scene. A family stopped at a Polish checkpoint ahead, pleading, gesturing, crying, turned back. Too many inside already, too much strain, too little food. You see none of the shouting, only the slow, defeated turn as they walk back down the road past your position, carrying yesterday's hope like a weight across their shoulders. A young German soldier beside you says quietly, "This was supposed to be fast." Another replies, "It still is. They are only delaying the inevitable." You remain silent. Inevitable feels like a word someone else invented. Someone far away from this dirt, this hunger, this tiredness. Afternoon arrives with the distant hum of engines. Aircraft again. Not many, not in formation, just pairs, circling, observing, occasionally dropping a single bomb that sends a faint plume of dust and smoke rising beyond the river. You feel the shock through the ground seconds later, a distant pulse traveling like a memory. The lieutenant marks the direction of each explosion on his map. Patterns, positions, pressure. Artillery follows. Slow cadence, methodical, measured, not fury, calculation. Each shell sounds like the closing of a door somewhere far away, a door someone will never open again. Smoke drifts from 3/4 of the skyline now. Not dense, not apocalyptic, but persistent, like the city exhaling through clenched teeth. The wind carries faint echoes, a whistle, a distant shout, a hammer striking metal as someone fortifies a position beyond sight. War has texture, and most of it is quiet. Later, near dusk, you help drive stakes in earth, supporting camouflage netting. Others stack crates of ammunition. A pair of men sharpen spades for digging. Not because battle is coming at this moment, but because routine is a rope keeping sanity from falling into the pit war digs beneath your feet. Someone hums again, the same soldier as before. He hums the same tune each evening, though no one knows its words. You do not ask. Some melodies are not for sharing. A field kitchen delivers stew, cabbage, potatoes, a scrap of meat floating like a small blessing. You eat slowly, savoring warmth. Then night, velvet and heavy. Fires flicker along the horizon. Scattered pockets of glow across Warsaw's silhouette, like candles in distant windows, sometimes bright, sometimes faint. You imagine people huddling below, reading by lantern light, holding children close, whispering comfort into hair and fabric, listening for the whistle of falling steel. And you wonder quietly where your own mother would hide during such a night, how she would hold herself together, how she would pray. Your eyelids droop. A fellow soldier sits near you, rubbing his temples with tired fingers. "When does this end?" he whispers. No one answers. It is not a question asked for information. It is a question asked because silence feels too heavy to stand alone. You lie back, blanket across your chest, helmet a pillow of steel beneath your head. Crickets chirp weakly. A breeze stirs tall grass. The ground vibrates again. Soft, rhythmic. Artillery, far away. Your eyes close. You do not fear sleep. You do not crave it. It simply comes, as duties do, as days do, as history does. Slow, heavy, unstoppable. And once again you vanish into darkness. Quiet, ordinary, swallowed by time and fatigue, as gently as dirt receives a fallen leaf. The morning does not arrive suddenly. It seeps through the fabric of night like water through cloth. Slow, inevitable, without sympathy. You wake before the order comes, eyes opening to a world still half shadowed, half gray. The ground is cold again, your limbs stiff, your breath misting faintly in the chill dawn. Someone nearby rubs their neck and whispers, "I thought I heard snow in the night." You do not answer, not because you doubt him, but because you remember winters at home, and this autumn air tastes like the andante before a cold symphony. Bread again, a spoon of jam, shared from a tin passed hand to hand. Warm water, it would be meager in peacetime. Out here, it is simply enough. The lieutenant gathers the squad, voice low, tone steady. Two companies rotate forward. Observation along the eastern approach. Expect scattered fire. Not exciting, not dramatic, just another day, one foot stepping into the shadow of another. You advance to a new position, a line of shallow dugouts overlooking a low slope leading toward Warsaw's outer districts. Smoke still rises there, thin and persistent like breath from a sleeping giant. Far ahead, columns of Polish civilians shuffle between damaged streets and barricades, lines forming around wells and soup kitchens. Even from distance, you see the fatigue in their posture, shoulders drooping, steps dragging. Siege is not a roar. It is a slow, grinding tightening, a hunger that begins not in stomachs, but in spirits. You kneel behind a rough earthen wall, watching through binoculars as Polish forces move sandbags, check rifles, tend to wounded under makeshift canvas shelters. A child sits beside a mother near a cellar entrance. The child is silent. Even youth knows when to quiet itself. Hours pass. You hear a rifle crack from somewhere in the distance. Single shot, then silence. A warning, perhaps. A frightened trigger finger. Or simply war reminding you it is awake. Later, a mortar shell lands far to the right. A puff of dust, a muffled thump, men scattering like startled birds before settling again. No charge follows. No escalation. Just another note in the strange music of siege. Near midday, a runner arrives breathless, speaking quietly with your officer. A nod. A brief sigh. Word travels down the line in murmurs. Fritz is dead. You look instinctively for confirmation. A medic kneels beside a shape under a tarp near a supply wagon. A boot sticks out. Familiar leather, laces frayed like everyone else's. Someone whispers, "Shrapnel." Didn't even cry out. There is no ceremony, no speech. Just a quiet moment, eyes turned downward, breath held as though in prayer or simple exhaustion. Fritz had carved a small horse from scrap wood 2 nights ago, whittling it smooth by lantern light, humming softly. Now the carving rests beside his pack on the ground. A corporal picks it up, dusts it gently, and places it inside the dead man's coat before the tarp folds again. War does not always take men with noise. Sometimes it lifts them away quietly, like breath on a cold morning fading into nothing. You return to your lookout. Everything looks the same. The city still smolders. Civilians still line streets for water. Polish soldiers still hold positions with weary resolve. And yet the world feels slightly emptier. In the afternoon, clouds gather thickly. A light drizzle begins, soaking coats, darkening wool, making dirt cling stubbornly to boots. No one complains. A man coughs in a shallow dugout, wiping his nose with the back of his hand. Another adjusts his bayonet for the 5th time, though it does not need adjusting. Routine fills the silence where emotion would drown a man. Toward evening, aircraft appear again, silhouettes gliding across low clouds, engines humming like distant horns. They do not dive here. They head toward the river and the bridges, where Polish guns fire back, tracers arcing like faint fireflies in the dusk. You watch the flicker of anti-aircraft bursts, tiny flowers of smoke blooming against gray sky. Somewhere, a plane peels away, trailing smoke, but you cannot see if it falls or limps home. As light fades, field kitchens bring stew, warm bowls passed by tired hands, a little meat, a few carrots, broth that tastes like comfort remembered from childhood kitchens. You eat slowly, steam rising into cool evening air. A soldier beside you murmurs, "Home feels like something I dreamt once." Another answers, barely audible, "It still exists. We just have to find our way back to it." You do not speak, but you think of your street, the cobblestones, the bakery on the corner, the soft glow of lamplight through frosted windows in winter. Memory is a fragile blanket, but warm enough for now. Night sharpens the city's glow. Fires flicker, lanterns sway underground in cellars. Searchlights sweep skies like tired guardians. You lie down, blanket damp, rifle beside you, helmet under your head. The earth feels colder now. Your eyelids fall heavy. You hear distant artillery, rhythmic and familiar. A soft murmur of men settling, clearing throats, whispering one last word before sleep. And just before your thoughts fade entirely, you feel a strange stillness inside yourself. Not peace, not numbness exactly, but something in between. A space where survival rests. Not triumphant, not defeated, simply enduring. You close your eyes and sleep arrives without asking permission. It happens slowly. Not in a single day, not with a single order shouted across broken streets, not with flags rising or falling in dramatic wind. It comes the way autumn frost arrives, quietly, gently, settling into corners of the world one breath at a time. The siege has lasted long enough now that you no longer count days. You measure time by the sound of distant artillery and the ache in your legs when you stand from sleep. By now, the smoke over Warsaw feels permanent, like a stain painted onto the sky. You wake in a shallow dugout, blanket stiff with damp. A thin wind moves across the field, whispering through grass that has been trampled by too many boots. Someone nearby mutters, "It feels like we've been here forever." Someone else replies, "No. It only feels like we never left you rub warmth into your hands, flex your fingers around your rifle, and take your position again." Ahead, the city, still resisting, still wounded, but quieter now. No longer the spirited defiance of early days. No cheering crowds behind barricades. No columns of Polish units marching with determined posture. Just endurance. Just survival. Just the dull, unglamorous stubbornness of a capital refusing to die loudly. You see smoke rising from a different quarter today. Not black and angry, but pale gray, like the steam from laundry drying on a winter line. You cannot tell if it comes from a kitchen trying to cook a last meal or from a home struck silently in the night. Sometimes war does not scream. It sighs, orders come. Not to attack, only to advance slowly, to take new positions a little closer to the river, nearer to bridges that have become fragile lifelines. You walk. Boots crunch across dirt, through patches of flattened grass, past abandoned wagons and forgotten shoes. A lone horse grazes in a ditch, reins trailing, coat dull. No master nearby. You cannot tell if it was freed or abandoned. In war, sometimes there is no difference. You reach a new position behind a low wall of broken brick. It looks like it once bordered a garden. Flowers grow still in the soil, yellow, stubborn, unaware of history. The lieutenant speaks quietly as he unfolds a map. Negotiations have begun. The city can hold no longer. No one breathes loudly, no one shifts. The sentence falls over the men like snowfall. Soft, muffled, inevitable. Warsaw has fought, and now Warsaw is tired. As afternoon fades, white cloths appear in distant windows, not waving, not fluttering proudly, just hanging still, limp as though they too are weary. Polish soldiers, what little you can see of them, stand atop makeshift barricades, rifles slung low, helmets resting heavy. Not defeated in spirit, only spent. A long silence stretches between both sides. A silence so still you hear leaves moving gently in the wind. Hear your own pulse behind your ear. Hear someone breathing slowly behind you. Then, a single artillery round lands. Not in anger, just one last exhale of momentum. And then nothing. Nothing but wind. Nothing but tired eyes. Nothing but the quiet uncoiling of tension held too long. Even the birds return, as if they too waited for permission. Hours later, as dusk turns the world blue and soft, word passes down the line. Warsaw capitulates, September 28, 1939. No cheers, no raised fists, no songs, just a long collective exhale. Men releasing breath they did not realize they held. You walk with your unit, not to storm the city, but simply to approach its edge. Streets cracked with rubble, windows shattered, walls scarred by shrapnel. And yet, people remain. A woman sweeps glass from her doorstep with slow, practiced motion. A priest helps an elderly man sit on a bench, murmuring softly. Children stand near a doorway, too thin, holding hands tightly. The war has ended here, but nothing feels victorious. You pass a column of Polish soldiers marching out, heads high, weapons stacked, their uniforms worn, Boots muddy, eyes hollow yet dignified. Your officer salutes them quietly. Some of your men do too. Respect is not forbidden. Exhaustion leaves space for humanity. You walk further, then stop near a broken fountain. Water trickles weakly from a cracked pipe, pooling in the basin, reflecting the fading sky. You sit. Let your rifle rest across your knees. Remove your helmet and place it beside you. The world feels strangely light, but only because the weight remains inside you instead of on your pack. A fellow soldier sits beside you, rubbing his hands slowly. I thought I would feel different, he whispers. You do not know how he expected to feel. You do not know how you expected to feel either. Instead, you answer quietly, almost to yourself. Sometimes winning feels like stopping. Night falls fully, wrapping the city and fields in quiet. No bombs tonight, no thunder, only breath, bones, and earth resting after strain. You lie down one last time on the cold ground outside Warsaw. Blanket pulled to your chin, helmet under your head, the soil cool beneath your body, the sky wide and indifferent. Your eyes close slowly, and as sleep gathers like soft fog around you, you feel no triumph, no regret, no fear, only stillness. A weary stillness earned by miles walked, days waited, and silence endured. History will remember battles. Maps will remember borders. But you remember footsteps, cold mornings, burnt bread, soft prayers, quiet civilians, and the sound of artillery carried by wind. Sleep comes gently, and for the first time in many nights, the world does not shake.